All right, can you hear me in Osceola?
Yes, we could hear you.
Okay, could I have an
Good morning,
appearance for the
Judge.
state? Could I have an appearance for the state, please?
Justin Collins for the state of Florida, Your Honor.
Morning, Mr. Collins, and on behalf of the Public Defender's Office.
Mona Abram from the Office of the Public Defender.
How do I spell your last name, ma'am?
Abraham, Abraham.
All right. Good morning, Miss Abraham. And good morning,
Good morning.
everybody. Good morning, everybody who's in Osceola. We're here for initial appearances. The way that this will work is that when your case is called, you'll come to the podium and stand next to Miss Abraham. You will give me your name and date of birth so I can make sure that I have the right person in front of me. I'm going to advise everybody of their right to remain silent today. Anything that you say here can and be used against you in your pending criminal action or any other action. I'm going to appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent each one of you for this hearing. If you have a privately retained lawyer, please tell me that when you come to the podium. And let's get started. Amato, please. Morning, sir. Could I have your name and date of birth?
Good morning. Joshua Amato, 07/11/1997.
Thank you, Mr. Amato. You are charged with 4 counts: no motor vehicle registration, driving while license suspended first offense, fleeing with disregard to officer safety, and driving while license suspended first offense. I find that there's probable cause for each of those charges. Your bond on count 1 is $250. Your bond on count 2 is $500. Your bond on count 3 is $1,000. And your bond on count 4 is $500. Thank you, sir. Aviles Ortiz?
Your Honor, he does qualify. He does meet criteria for PTR, Your Honor.
State have any objection to PTR?
Your Honor, Aviles Ortiz.
No, this would be from Mr. Amato.
No objection to PTR, Your Honor.
And Ms. Abraham, do I need to ask you if you have any objection to PTR for these cases?
Your Honor, no, I don't believe so. I do ask that they have an option to select the monetary bond instead if they so choose.
Fair enough. PTR, I
Okay.
will order PTR, and he can elect monetary bond if he chooses. Sorry for the delay, Mr. Aviles Ortiz. Your name and date of birth, sir?
Giovanni Aviles Ortiz, 12/5/1977.
Thank you, sir. You're here on a failure to appear. Probable cause has already been found. Your bond is at $2,000. Thank you, sir.
So there was a condition on it, $2,000 plus pretrial release.
It's $2,000 plus pretrial release. Brownfield, please.
Shane Brownfield, 10/15/1992.
Morning, Mr. Brownfield. You're charged with violation of community control. Probable cause has already been found, and your bond is no bond. Thank you, sir. Bird, please.
Roger Bird, 6/21/1982.
Thank you, Mr. Bird. You're charged with battery causing bodily harm, possession of cocaine, and possession use of drug paraphernalia. Bond on count 1 is set at $1,500. Bond on count 2 will be lowered to $150, and bond on count 3 will be lowered to $100. You're not to have any contact directly or indirectly with Miss Woods. I'll order that you possess no weapons and no firearms, that you not possess or use any illegal substances. Thank you, sir.
Your Honor, he does qualify for PTR, bond with PTR.
I'm not comfortable with PTR on this one. Thank you. Cabrera Ramos.
Yes, sir.
What's your name and date of birth, sir?
Yes, sir. Cabell Ramos, 10380.
Thank you, sir. You are charged with trespass other than to a structure or conveyance. I'll find that there's probable cause for that offense. Set your bond at $500, and you'll not return to the scene of this offense. Thank you, sir. Churchill?
Wesley Churchill, 10580.
Thank you, sir. You are charged with capital sexual battery. Probable cause has already been found. Based on the four corners of the affidavit, I find that the proof of your guilt is evident, or the presumption is great. You'll have no contact with the alleged victim in this case, and your bond is no bond. Thank you, sir.
Your Honor, he also has pending cases. I have a list, the 2016 CF 001888, 2018 CF 0009991, 2018 CF 002644, 2018 CF 003693, 2019 CF 003694, 2018 CF 004338, 2018 CF 004472, 2018 MM 002268, 2018 MM 003971, 2018 MM 003972, 2019 MM 000171. They're all out of Osceola County, Your Honor. The state would respectfully ask this court to revoke the pretrial release in those cases.
I'll do that. I'll revoke pretrial release in all of those cases, and bonds in all of those cases will be no bond.
Your Honor, is he out on mental health pretrial release?
His cases were closed out because he was going into treatment. He's not. Your Honor, he's no longer on pretrial release. His cases were closed out due to him going into treatment. Now, he does have various open cases, sir, but he's not currently on PTR.
Can you basically list for me what his open cases are? Is he then, Ms. Abraham, on conditional release?
Your Honor, I have absolutely no access to anything over in Osceola. I have an arrest affidavit, and that's it. I don't even have the warrant itself or anything that tells me anything about the cases that he had prior or the cases that he may or may not be on pretrial release for.
Mr. Collins, are you telling me every single case that you have in the system, or every single open case that you have in the system? How are you coming up with those numbers?
Your Honor, this is an email that I received from a higher ASA. Those are pending cases he has open per my email that are pending open cases.
Okay. Well, he's either on bond, on PTR, or on conditional release.
He's on conditional release, Your Honor.
In all of those cases. So whether it's a revocation of bond, PTR, or conditional release, I'm revoking it in every single one of those cases that he's out on those particular cases on. I recognize that wasn't the most artful way to say that. And state, you'll get a list of those cases to both Ms. Abraham via email, and you'll get a list to my trial clerk.
Yes, Your Honor.
It wasn't.
Cruz Bruno, please.
These are open, but instead he was out on bond or conditional.
He was just asking.
Yeah, I said, oh my God.
He didn't hear you. He was talking to the state.
Yes, ma'am. Could I please have your name and date of birth?
Melissa Cruz Bruno, February 8, 1990.
Ma'am, you are charged with child abuse without great bodily harm. I find that there's probable cause for that charge. Can somebody tell me where the child is, counsel?
Your Honor, my understanding is that the child is currently with his aunt.
And that's through a shelter petition through DCF, Ms. Abraham?
No, I would not have access to any of that. I'm also limited on the electronics I can bring on here, so I can't pull it up either.
Do you know Mr. Collins?
That's,
No, I do not, Your Honor.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I just asked the state if he knew, and he said that he didn't know. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to set bond on count 1 at $2,000. And for the time being, I'm going to order no contact with the alleged victim in the case. I can presume that somebody would file a motion at some point relating to contact, but in the absence of information today, I'm not comfortable allowing any sort of contact at this time. Fines, please. Fines?
Oh, I'm sorry, Your Honor. I believe Mr. Fines actually bonded
Yes.
minutes ago.
Yes.
Fralix?
Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Preston Fralix. My birthday is April 17, 1991.
Morning, Mr. Fralix. You are charged in this case with battery and tampering with a witness. I find that there's probable cause for that charge. Bond on count 1 is set at $500. Bond on count 2 is set at $1,500. I'll order no contact with the alleged victim in this case. Could you, Ms. Abraham, ask your client whether he lives in the exact same house as his sister?
I believe he does, Your Honor.
I'm going to order no return to that house, although he may go back one time only, accompanied by law enforcement for clothes, items of health, and toiletries. Fulton, please.
In your honor, he does qualify for PTR, sir.
I'm not comfortable with PTR in this case, ma'am, but thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Fulton, I show 2 cases.
Robert Fulton, 3593.
Morning, Mr. Fulton. You have 2 cases. The first of them is a failure to appear. Probable cause has already been found for that, and bond is set at $1,000. Your new law offense is for driving while license suspended, first offense. I'll find probable cause for that as well, and your bond is set at $500. Special condition of not driving without a license. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Holy Cross, please.
Joshua Holy Cross, 1/4/1981.
Morning, Mr. Holy Cross. You're charged with violating your probation or community control. Probable cause has already been found, and your bond's already been set at no bond. Thank you, sir. Johnson, please. Looks like 3 cases.
Your Honor, I believe he's detoxing. Can we reset him to tomorrow?
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. We'll reset all 3 cases for tomorrow. Landucci, please.
Morning, Your Honor. My name is Manuel Landucci, born January 10th, 1993.
Thank you, Mr. Landucci. You're charged in this case with battery and child abuse. I found probable cause for each of those charges. Bond on count 1 is set at $5,000. Bond on count 2 is set at $2,000. No contact, directly or indirectly, with either of the alleged victims in this case. No return to the scene of the offense, no weapons, and no firearms. Thank you, sir. Mascarell, please. Two cases? Yes, sir.
Morning, Your Honor.
Could I have your name and date of birth, sir? Good morning. We talked over.
Mascarell, 1023.
We talked over each other. I apologize, sir. Thank you. You have 2 cases. In the first, you are charged with burglary of conveyance, grand theft, and dealing in stolen property. Probable cause has already been found for each of those offenses, and bonds have already been set at $2,500, $1,000, and $500 respectively. I'll order no return to the scene of the offense and no contact with the alleged victim. In your second case, it is an arrest on an outstanding warrant. Probable cause has already been found, and your bond is set at $4,000. Thank you, sir. Matthew, please.
Your Honor, can I have the amount for the first case?
Yes, ma'am. It was $2,500 on count 1, $1,000 on count 2, $500 on count 3, no contact, no return.
It's not the same case? Because I only have 1 case in front of me.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
the one.
Ah, I see. Okay, so the warrant pickup is what I was looking at. Okay, I agree with that. So it's 4,000 total and only 1 case. Thanks, Ms. Abraham.
In your honor,
Yes, ma'am?
Your Honor, Mr. James Mascarell, he does meets criteria for PTR.
Any objection from the state for PTR?
If I may,
We object to PTR, Your Honor.
I will order that PTR is allowable over state objection. He may also post the monetary amount should he see fit. Sir, be mindful of that no contact and no return provision, no matter how you get out. Matthew,
Yes,
please.
sir.
Is Mr. Matthew here?
yes, he's approaching.
Good morning, Your Honor. Sebastian Matthew, 0418, 1989.
Morning, Mr. Matthew. You are charged with aggravated stalking domestic violence and violation of pretrial release conditions for domestic violence. Found probable cause for each of those charges. Your bond on count 1 is set at $10,000. Your bond on count 2 is set at $10,000. You'll have no contact directly or indirectly with the alleged victim in this case. You'll possess no weapons and no firearms, and you'll not come within 1,000 feet of where she lives or where she works. You are currently out on bond in case number 19 CF 12579, aggravated battery domestic violence out of Orange County, and I'm going to revoke your bond in that case, and your bond will be no bond. Thank you, sir. McCann, please. Is that a bond out?
McCann, yes, sir. Bonded.
So this would be Ms. Middleton?
What's your name? What's your first name? Deidreana has already bonded, Your Honor.
Middleton's bonded?
No, sir.
Deidreana is, yeah.
She's bonded.
Oh, you are? Okay, Your Honor, she's present, and she is also the one that had bonded.
Ms. McCann is present, but she's already posted her bond?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Then I will not address her case because of that. Middleton, please.
Crystal Middleton, March 11th, 1989.
Morning, Ms. Middleton. You are here on a failure to appear. Probable cause has already been found, and your bond has been already set at no bond. Thank you, ma'am. Mixon, please.
Brian Mixon, 11/13/1969.
Morning, Mr. Mixon. You are charged with violation of probation or community control. Probable cause has already been found, and your bond has already been set at no bond. Thank you, sir. Morales Crespo?
I'm sorry, Your Honor. Mr. Mixon wanted to know whether a plea offer on the VOP would be available today.
State?
Not today, Your Honor.
I don't have anything in front of me, Ms. Abraham, to be able to get involved in that particular discussion, so just have your office call it up as soon as they can. Morales Crespo, please.
Okay, thank you.
Jose Morales, 03/20/1992.
All right, good morning, sir. You are charged with operating a motor vehicle without a valid driver's license. I find that there's probable cause for that charge. Does he qualify for PTR?
He does, sir. He meets criteria.
Any objection from the state to PTR?
No objection from the state, Your Honor.
Will be placed on pretrial release. He may also post a $500 monetary bond at his discretion. Thank you, sir. Ramos, please.
Oh, Your Honor, I believe Mr. Ramos will need the services of a Spanish interpreter.
Okay, can we dial one in, please?
Does he-
Mr. Figueroa, are you listening?
Yes, Your Honor.
Nelson
The interpreter's on the
Ramos,
line.
12
120152.
Momento, por favor. Mr. Figueroa, have you already been sworn, sir?
Not yet, Your Honor.
Do you solemnly swear to truly translate from English to Spanish and Spanish to English the testimony you'll hear today to the best of your ability?
I do, Alan Figueroa, State Certified Spanish Court Interpreter.
Thank you, sir. Could I please have your full name and date of birth?
Su nombre completo y su fecha de nacimiento, por favor, señor.
Nelson Ramos, 120152.
Okay, Mr. Ramos, it sounds like you understand a little bit of English, but if you're more comfortable proceeding in Spanish, we have an interpreter for you to do that.
Señor Ramos, parece que usted entiende un poco de inglés, pero si está más cómodo haciéndolo a través del español, tenemos el intérprete presente.
So if you want to answer in the language that you're most comfortable in, which I understand is Spanish, please do that consistently. It's hard when we switch back and forth.
Así que si va a hacerlo a través del intérprete, por favor, conteste en español para que así sea todo corrido, porque si no es confuso de otra manera.
Sir, you are charged.
Muy bien, en español.
Very well, in Spanish.
No problem, sir. You are charged in this case with battery. There is probable cause for that charge.
Señor, se le acusa de agresión física y existen indicios de criminalidad ante esa acusación.
Is he eligible for PTR?
Yes, he is, Your Honor. It would be bond with PTR. The victim does not want any contact or for him to return to the residence.
Sí, reúne los requisitos para la libertad provisional. La víctima no quiere ningún tipo de contacto ni que él regrese a la residencia.
State's thought on PTR, having read the allegations in this particular complaint?
Based on the facts of the case, the state would object to PTR, Your Honor.
Defense, could you find out if the parties do live at the same house, and if so, who owns the house?
Yes, Your
Dados
Honor,
los
may I have a
hechos de
second?
caso, la Fiscalía desea objetar con respecto a la libertad provisional en este momento.
Victim resides in the home with him. Can you just go confirm? I believe. he's
Your
the
Honor, I do
homeowner.
believe that he is the homeowner and his daughter does reside with him in that home.
Okay, so here's what I'll do. I'm going to set bond today on this count at $1,000. I'm going to order that the defendant have no contact whatsoever with his daughter. Mr. Figueroa?
You can continue, Your Honor.
I'm going to order that he not return to the house at this time, although he may return one time only with law enforcement to obtain his possessions. Ms. Abraham, you'll make a note of the fact that he's the homeowner and let one of your colleagues know.
Your Honor, to be candid with the court too, on the affidavit, it does state that she moved in to an address and that she'd be residing there in the affidavit. Just to be candid with the court.
Okay, then I'll strike, based on that, I will strike the no return provision.
Bien, entonces,
Your Honor, will
dados
you be
los...
placed on PTR?
PTR plus bond.
Bien, dados los casos del hecho, entonces se fijará la fianza en $1,000, se le prohíbe el contacto con su hija, se le prohíbe regresar a la propiedad solamente una vez con las autoridades para recoger sus pertenencias. Hay que hacer constar también que usted es el dueño de la propiedad. La Fiscalía ha informado que ella ha anunciado que se ha mudado a otra dirección. Dado eso, entonces se anulará la prohibición de regreso a la propiedad. Puede regresar a la propiedad y se le emitirá la libertad provisional con fianza.
Thank you, sir.
Gracias.
Your Honor, I just want to confirm that it's just no contact for the special condition,
Correct.
and you strike no return and return one time to law enforcement. So his only special condition is no contact with the victim.
That's correct, ma'am, and that's based on the state's proffer that the alleged victim has already moved out and has a different place to live.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Correcto. Correcto. Y eso es dado el hecho de que la víctima ya se ha mudado y tiene otro sitio donde ir.
The next case is Johnny Rodriguez. Thank you, Mr. Figueroa.
Your Honor, if we could have the translator, I'm sorry, translate these, the only condition being that he does not contact his daughter.
Sure, and I will elaborate on that. The only special condition, other than he's placed on PTR with a $1,000 bond, so he'd have to do anything that PTR ordered him to do in terms of being in touch. The only special condition other than that is going to be no direct or indirect contact with his daughter.
Bien, señor, la única condición que se le impondrá, además de la libertad provisional con la fianza, usted tiene que cumplir con todas las condiciones que el programa de la libertad provisional le imponga, y lo único adicional será que se le prohíbe el contacto, ya sea directo o indirecto, con su hija.
No contact means no direct contact or indirect contact, and no direct contact means that you can't speak to her face-to-face over the telephone, via email, text message, social media of any kind, or any other way, and no indirect contact means that you can't send messages to her using anybody else.
Eso significa, cero contacto directo significa que no puede hablar con ella cara a cara, no le puede escribir un mensaje de texto, un correo electrónico, un video, chateo, página web, una aplicación en las redes sociales, nada. Contacto directo significa no puede llegar a ella ni comunicarse con ella a través de un tercero ni de ninguna otra persona.
Thank you, sir. Johnny Rodriguez.
Gracias.
Sir, could I have your name and date of birth, please?
Oh, I'm sorry, Your Honor, that was my fault. I had mute selected.
No problem. Could you
Repeat your name again?
I'm sorry about that. My name is Johnny Rodriguez. I was born in 11/03/2000.
No problem, Mr. Rodriguez. That wasn't on you. You are charged with aggravated child abuse, and there is probable cause for that charge. Bond is set at $3,500. No contact with the alleged victim in this case, no weapons, and no firearms. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Rodriguez Guadalupe.
My name is Angel Rodriguez, 09/16/1992.
Morning, Mr. Rodriguez. You are charged with child abuse without great bodily harm. There is probable cause for that offense. Bond is set at $5,000 and no contact with the child at this time. Thank you, sir. Spatcher, please. Morning, Ms. Spatcher. You're charged with violating your probation or your community control. Probable cause has already been found and your bond has already been set at no bond. Thank you, ma'am. Townsend, please. Towsend, I apologize.
My name is Tyler Townsend, 3/12/1993.
Thank you, Mr. Townsend. You're charged with battery. There's probable cause for that charge. I will set your bond on count one at $2,500. No contact directly or indirectly with the alleged victim in this case. No alcohol, no possession or use of illegal substances, no weapons, no firearms. And Ms. Abraham, would you confirm the living situation for me?
PR.
Yes, ma'am?
Your Honor, he also qualifies for PTR.
I'm not comfortable with PTR in this particular case.
Your Honor, Mr. Townsend did initially reside with the alleged victim in this case. However, she has moved to live with her father. I believe that's what she let the deputy know as well.
Okay, thank you very much.
Your Honor, I'd like to have confirmation for that, because per the affidavit, they've been living together, so before we let him go back, I want to make sure she's not there.
Okay, do we have any independent confirmation of that from pretrial release? Is that where it came from?
No, Your Honor, we were unable to get in contact with the victim. The number that was provided was disconnected.
Okay, then I will order a maintain separate residences.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, ma'am. Woods, please.
Good afternoon. Latoya Woods, 01/28/1993.
Morning, Ms. Woods, thank you. You're charged with 4 counts in this case: possession of cocaine, possession or use of drug paraphernalia, resisting officer without violence, and resisting arrest without violence. As it relates to count 1, I will leave your bond set at $1,000. I'll lower your bonds on counts 2, 3, and 4 to $100 each. No contact with the gentleman who was with you and who was here this morning. No weapons, no firearms, no possession or use of illegal substances. Thank you, ma'am.
She also qualifies for PTR.
Any objection from the state to PTR?
One moment, Your Honor, just.
Your Honor, can you repeat her special conditions one more time, please, sir?
No contact, no weapons, no firearms, no possession or use of illegal substances.
Based on the facts of the case, the state would object, Your Honor.
Pardon me, Mr. Collins?
I said, based on reading the facts of the case, the state would object, Your Honor.
Okay. Over the state's objection, I'll be fine with pretrial release, but pretrial release is going to involve drug testing to the maximum amount permissible. She can also post the monetary
Your Honor.
bond if she wants to. Aragon, please.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yes, ma'am.
Adam Aragon, 9977.
Morning, sir. You're charged with violating your probation or your community control. Probable cause has already been found and your bond's already been set at no bond. Thank you. Dobbs, please. Sir, can I please have your full name and date of birth?
Justice Dollars, 1995, June 24th.
Thank you, sir. You're charged in this case with battery. I will find that there is probable cause for that charge. I will increase your bond to $5,000 on count 1, and you'll have no contact directly or indirectly with the alleged victim in this case. You are in custody on 2019 MM 3303 for stalking and case number 2014 CF 2129, violation of probation, aggravated battery with a deadly weapon. I will revoke your bond on the stalking charge, and your bond will be no bond. You are already on no bond for the VOP case, and that's how it'll remain. Thank you, sir. Collins, please.
He's detoxing. He has refused, Your Honor. Can we roll him to tomorrow as well?
Yes, ma'am, no problem. And I'm going to do the best I can with this one. Is it Krusek?
He refused as well.
Okay, we'll roll him over till tomorrow. Is there anything else I can do for you guys down in Osceola?
One moment.
What was the reason for the last reset?
Refuse.
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Abraham, thank you very much, and thanks to everybody down in Osceola. I appreciate how smooth that was. We'll be adjourned.
Thank you too, sir.
All right, we'll be back on the record in Orange County for the state
Justin Collins for the state, Your Honor.
and for the Office of the Public Defender.
Courtney Daly on behalf of the Office of the Public Defender.
Thank you. And Mr. Figueroa, are you still online, sir?
Sure thing, Your Honor.
All right, this is Carmen Milagros Vasquez. Could I please have your name and date of birth, ma'am?
She needs an interpreter.
Oh, do we have the headset for her? That would be easier. So, Ms. Daly, you're going to have to, or officer, you're going to have to help her because she's going to need to wear it so that she can speak into the actual headset itself. There you go. Morning, ma'am. What's your name and date of birth?
Carmen Vázquez, 23 de julio del 58.
Carmen Vasquez, July 23rd of 1958.
All right. Ma'am, you have a right to remain silent. I'm going to appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you for this hearing, and that's Ms. Daly, who's standing next to you. You're charged with battery domestic violence. I find that there's probable cause for that charge. Any objection to pretrial release from the state?
No objection from the state, as long as the conditions of no contact with the victim, Your Honor.
That makes sense to me. She'll be placed on pretrial release, ma'am. You'll have no...
Your Honor, we need a bond or, just because she has no alternative address at this time.
Fair enough. The alternative bond will be $100. The special condition is going to be no contact with your son, ma'am. No contact means no direct contact or no indirect contact. You can't speak to him face-to-face over the telephone, via email, text message, social media of any kind or any other way. And no indirect contact means that you can't send messages to him using anybody else. Do you understand?
Sí, no entiendo, pero no.
I wouldn't speak to me directly, ma'am, because you're speaking into a microphone and you're represented by a lawyer. I'm just asking if you understand what I've told you.
Yes, I do understand.
Now, if he's at your house when you go back, then you should call the police because I'm not kicking you out of your own house. He's the one that would have to go. Thank you.
Okay.
Your Honor, on this next case, I'd waive the reading of the charges.
Do we just have one case for him, or is it two?
I think there's two case numbers, but I don't know what was handled before.
13976 and
Yeah.
13978.
So 16 total charges? No, 20 total charges. Okay. Sir, could I please have your full name and date of birth?
Danny Godoy, 1980.
Danny Godoy, 1980.
Yeah.
Month and year, sir? Month and date, I'm sorry.
Agosto 5.
August 5th.
Thank you. You are charged across two cases with 20 total counts. I find that there's probable cause for every count in each case. You have a right to remain silent. I'm going to appoint the PD's office to represent you in this case, in these cases. I find based on a reading of the four corners of both of these cases that the state is, that there's proof evident or presumption great. Your bond will be no bond on all 20 counts, no contact with any alleged victim in any case. Thank you, sir. Perez, please. Sir, what's your name and date of birth?
Pérez Byron, 16 de abril de 1984.
Perez Diron, April 16th of 1984.
All right, sir, you have a right to remain silent. I'm going to appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you. That's Ms. Daly, who's standing to your right. You're charged with aggravated battery with a deadly weapon and battery. There's probable cause. Well, probable cause has already been found via warrant. Bond is set on count 1 at $3,500 and bond on count 2 of $1,000. You'll have no contact with any alleged victim in this case. You possess no weapons and no firearms. Sabrina Danis.
Your Honor, this is an out-of-county case, or an out-of-county warrant. What do you have it as?
I just have it as an out-of-county warrant.
If you read the facts in the affidavit, it looks as though it was a violation of a domestic violence injunction. Do you speak English? Okay. I'm gonna look at it right now.
Yeah, but it's showing up as a capias out of Hillsborough County.
Is that what it says in the affidavit?
This is what it shows. That's what it appears.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he would just be, I think he'd just be transported back to Hillsborough.
That makes sense. It was weird because when you read the facts in the affidavit, the alleged facts happened at the Orlando airport, so he would be violating the injunction here in Orange County. I understand it violates the Hillsborough County injunction. I just didn't know it just didn't make much sense to me.
I understand what you're saying, but
Yeah.
the only reason that we would have it listed as an out-of-county warrant and also have that teletype information listed afterwards, maybe it's a separate violation?
I don't know.
Anyway, sir, could I have your full name and date of birth?
Rafael Sobrino Davis. Junio 12 del 1984.
June 12th of 1984.
All right, sir, you have a right to remain silent. I'm going to appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you, and that's Ms. Daly, who's standing to your left. You're charged with an out-of-county, well, you have an out-of-county warrant. Probable cause has already been found, and your bond has already been set at no bond. Thank you, sir. Torielva, please. Is that all for the Spanish interpreter cases?
I had two more. Yes.
That's it? Okay, so we'll just pass them as they come then, Ms. Daly.
The other two are Creole and
Oh,
Portuguese.
Creole and
That's why, I'm
Portuguese.
sorry. I was like, it says interpreter.
Sir, what's your full name and date of birth?
Hello?
What's your full name and date of birth?
May 1976,
Your full name?
16. My full name is Alberto Torrealba.
All right, good morning, Mr. Torielva. And on his behalf?
Jaya Bolani, representing Mr. Torrealba.
Morning, Ms. Belani. Mr. Torielba, you have a right to remain silent. You're represented by Ms. Belani, who's standing to your left. In this case, you're charged with aggravated battery causing bodily harm or disability, challenges to probable cause defense.
Judge, we have a challenge just to the actual nature of the charge regarding great bodily harm.
I find that based on the four corners of the affidavit, there's probable cause for great bodily harm based on the specific allegation that your client placed a knife against the alleged victim's throat, which would be the element of great bodily harm.
Judge, for the record, I just want to state there is, DCF was involved prior to this.
Yeah.
The minor does not live at the house with her mother or her stepfather. She's living with her grandmother per a case plan they have with DCF.
Does he qualifies for pretrial release?
I don't think that they realized that it was against a minor, Your Honor. I don't think it would qualify.
We'd ask for a monetary bond, judges, at a pretrial release.
What are you asking for in terms of a bond?
I mean, with nature of his has no prior history at all, we'd ask for between a $2,500 and $5,000 bond, judge.
State's position on the bond?
Say we'd ask for a higher bond based on the allegations of the charge and the alleged offense. We'd leave it at the balance discretion to the court.
Yeah, what's a high bond to you, Mr. Collins?
5,000.
Okay, so you guys are basically in the same range. Ma'am, are you here on this case?
Yes, sir.
Raise your right hand to be sworn, please. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you'll give in this cause today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
What's your name?
Amy Torrealba.
All right, ma'am. And are you related to the defendant in this case?
I'm his wife.
And, okay, terrific. And ma'am, what did you want to say to me?
Just that there was the DC, the victim, Emma, her father and I did a DCF plan yesterday and the day before for her to stay with her grandmother pending the whole procedural, what everybody needs to go through.
The alleged victim in this case is your biological daughter?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Was there anything else, ma'am, that you wanted to tell me? And you don't have to. I just wanted to make sure that you were heard.
No, just that, I don't know what else to say. Just,
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
State have any questions for this witness?
So the child is currently not in your custody, right? Am I correct?
No, her father and I signed a plan on Thursday for her to stay with her paternal grandmother pending the results of their whole procedurals, DCF's procedures and follow-up of everything.
And roughly how far away from your residence to the grandmother's residence is that?
Maybe about 7 or 8 miles.
Nothing from the state, Your Honor.
Judge, one last thing. On his paperwork.
Hold on
that
one
he-
sec, Ms. Polani. Do you have any questions for this
I do not,
witness?
Your Honor.
Thank you for coming in, ma'am. You can be seated.
Thank you.
Um,
On
yes,
his
ma'am.
paperwork, it says no contact with Amy Torrealba. The name is incorrect. Amy is his wife. The daughter's Emma. So I just want to make sure we don't have that down the road.
All right, so I found probable cause for the charge. I am going to set bond at $2,500 on count one. I'm going to order the following special conditions. You're going to have no contact with the stepdaughter, sir, directly or indirectly. I'm also going to order that you follow DCF safety plan. You are going to consume no drugs that aren't prescribed to you. You're going to consume no alcohol. You will have no weapons and no firearms. And that should be it. Anything else from the defense?
No, that's all, Your
All
Honor.
right, anything else from the state?
Nothing from the state, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Thanks.
Judge, you have a good weekend.
Hey, you too. Good seeing you.
Good seeing you.
Thanks. No contact. Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Mr. Collins, take a second for me and write out the extra cases that I revoke conditional release, bond, or PTR on in Osceola.
Yes, Your Honor. I had that
And
on the
if you
sticky,
have
I
it in an
apologize.
email that you can easily forward to my trial clerk, you might just ask her for her email address, because that might be an easier way to do it. You're Mr. Bullard? Mr. Bullard? Give me a second, Mr. Bullard. Yeah, you may.
Thank you.
Are we all set?
Yes.
Okay, terrific. All right, could I please have your full name and date of birth, sir? Your full name and date of birth, please.
Trayvon Lamar Bullard, 12-1401.
All right, thanks, Mr. Bullard. You have the right to remain silent in this hearing. You're represented. I'll appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you, and that's Ms. Daly, who's standing to your left. You're charged in this case with 4 counts: attempted first-degree murder with a firearm, throwing deadly missile at, within, or into a building, possession of firearm by a convicted delinquent, and aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. As it relates to all 4 charges, I find that there's probable cause. Some of those have been established, if not all, through warrant. As it relates to count 1, I find, based on the four corners of what I reviewed, that the proof is evident or the presumption is great and your bond will be no bond. As to counts 2, I'll raise your bond to $10,000. Count 3 will remain at $150 and count 4 will be raised to $10,000. No contact with any witnesses in this particular case, no weapons, no firearms. Thank you, sir.
We went out of order.
Sir, could I have your full name and date of birth, please?
Michael Plattner, August 30th, 1986. Michael Andres Plattner, sorry.
Okay. What happened to Mr. Noonchester? Did he bond out?
He refused, Your Honor.
We'll set him over for tomorrow. Thank you. All right. Mr. Plattner, you are charged, first off, sir, you have a right to remain silent. I'll appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you, and that's Ms. Daly, who's standing to your left. You're charged with hit and run, a failure to stop, and this isn't a crash that involved death. This is, if I understand it correctly, state and defense, a first-degree felony not punishable by life, correct?
Yes, that is correct, Your Honor. He is entitled to a bond.
Yeah, I checked the statute on this. Does the state disagree?
No, state agrees with you, Your Honor.
Okay. There are 2 counts here. Actually, it is 2 counts. Count 1 is hit and run with a failure to stop in a crash involving injury other than serious bodily injury. Count 2 is hit and run, failure to stop or remain at a crash involving death. There's probable cause for both charges. As to count 1, your bond is set at $150. As to count 2, your bond is going to be increased to $25,000. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
What's the third count?
It says leaving the scene of a crash with death.
So,
The count 2, the officer put times 2 there. Oh, towards the top. The first count.
so there's 2 counts of hit and run. So what's listed as count 2 is really count 3?
Okay.
So the death is count 3, and then the
Yes.
other 2 are leaving the scene. All right, let me revisit that then. Counts 1 and 2 are both going to be $150. Count 3 will be the increase to $25,000. Thank you, guys.
There you go.
Sir, could I have your full name and date of birth, please?
Robert R.C., 111069.
Morning, Mr. Arce. You have a right to remain silent. I'm going to appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you. That's Ms. Daly, who's standing to your left. You're charged with trespass on property after warning and resisting officer without violence. I find that there's probable cause for each of those charges. Bond on count 1 set at $500. Bond on count 2 set at $100. No return to Lake Eola Park. Thank you, sir.
Your Honor, is it possible I could get an offer because I've had this case before, like these charges?
Let me ask, does the state have an offer at this time?
There's no offer this time, Your Honor.
Okay, so I'll ask Ms. Daly to make a note of it and get it to your public defender as soon as possible. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is it 700 on both counts?
No,
I heard you say 7 something.
500 and 100.
Thank you. I don't know
Yes,
why I
ma'am.
heard 700.
All right, Jackson, please. Sir, could I please have your full name and date of birth?
Carlton Zephyr, OC 239.
Thanks, Mr. Jackson. You have a right to remain silent, sir. I'll appoint the PD's office to represent you. That's Ms. Daly, who's standing to your left. You're charged with battery. I find that there's probable cause for that charge, and bond is going to be set at $500. You're out on bond in case number 2019 CF 12715 for robbery, sudden snatching, and I'm going to revoke that bond. Thank you, sir. Hey, Mr. Riles, could I have your full name and date of birth?
Yeah, how you doing?
Good.
David Riles, 10958.
All right, sir, you're on a violation of, well, you have a right to remain silent, and I'm going to appoint the PD's office to represent you. You've got a violation of probation. It's my warrant. I already said that I found probable cause and that there's going to be no bond. I'll see you as soon as I see you. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Sir, could I have your full name and date of birth?
Terry Fraser.
And when were you born, Mr. Frazier?
22nd,
What year, sir?
1990.
All right, thank you. You are charged with, well, first off, you have a right to remain silent. I'm going to appoint the PD's office to represent you, and that's Ms. Daly, who's standing next to you. You're charged with trespass. There is probable cause for that charge. Does the state have an offer to resolve that case today?
No, I do not, Your Honor.
Okay. Does he qualify for? He does not qualify for
He does not,
PTR.
Your Honor.
Yeah, okay. I'll set your bond at $250. There'll be no return to the plaza. Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am. I'm going to appoint the PD for everybody unless Ms. Daly tells me otherwise, but I do want to let everybody know that. Sir, what's your name and date of birth?
Andrew Fain, April 8th, 1987.
All right, Mr. Fain. You have the right to remain silent. I'm going to appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you, and that's Ms. Daly who's standing next to you. You're here on an out-of-county warrant. There's probable cause already found for that warrant, and that judge has already set your bond at no bond. Thank you.
And he does have reporting requirements, Your Honor.
And there would be any extant reporting requirements that would continue to be in place. This is for Mr. Bowler. All right. All right, sir, what's your name?
Gary Barnes,
Mr. Barnes, when were you born, sir?
12/15/90.
All right, you have a right to remain silent, and I'm going to appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you for this hearing. That's Ms. Daly, who's standing to your left. You are charged in this case with burglary of a conveyance and battery domestic violence. Probable cause has already been found in the warrant. Would you guys give me 1 second on this, because I think for count one is the PBL, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Find based on my review of the affidavit that proof is evident, presumption is great. Bond on count one is set at no bond. Bond on count two is set at $2,500. He is out on, and there's no weapons and no firearms and no contact with Miss Sharonda Barnes. He can't come within 1,000 feet of where she lives or where she works. Sir, no contact means no direct or indirect contact, and that holds true even if you're in jail. Do you understand, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay. He's out on bond in case number 2019 CF 10875, fleeing or attempting to elude a law enforcement officer and resisting officer without violence, and I'll revoke his bond in that case. Thank you, sir. Is the next case a Creole interpreter case? Laura Ball? Sweet.
I'm just like, what in the world?
Can we get Mr. Lorval out here? Thank you. Can we get the next defendant, please?
Lauriston has mental health, Your Honor.
Lauriston, for mental health reasons, will be passed until tomorrow. Ma'am, could I have your name and date of birth, please?
Octavia Matthews, 2/16/89.
Thank you, Ms. Matthews. You have a right to remain silent. I'm going to appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you, and that's Ms. Daly, who's standing to your left. You are charged with aggravated battery on a pregnant person dating violence. I find that there is probable cause for that charge. Bond on count one is set at $5,000 plus PTR. You'll have no contact directly or indirectly with Quenisha Dames. no contact means no direct or indirect contact. And no direct contact means that you can't speak to her face-to-face over the telephone, via email, text message, social media of any kind or any other way. And no indirect contact means that you can't send her messages through anybody else. Do you understand no contact, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Here you go.
Ma'am, could I please have your full name and date of birth?
Michelle Myers, 122982.
All right, thank you. You have a right to remain silent, ma'am. I'm going to appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you, and that's Ms. Daly, who's standing to your left. State have any objection to pretrial release with no contact?
With no contact, Your Honor, yes, the state would have no objection.
Okay.
And it would have to be Bondor, Your Honor. She has no alternative address if she can't return home.
Okay.
There's,
And, sir, could you please raise your right hand to be sworn? You solemnly swear that the testimony you'll give in this cause today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
What's your name, sir?
Marvin Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. You are Ms. Myers' husband?
Yes.
Okay, and how long have you been married?
5 years.
And do you have any kids together?
Yes, we have one together and a son of hers from previous.
How old are they?
14 and 5.
Okay. What did you want to tell me, sir?
Actually, sir, yesterday the incident that happened, there was no, I don't feel any threat whatsoever, so I would like release with contact. I don't believe any threat was directed towards me. There was some things in the household, furniture that was turned over and everything, and possibly looking to do some damage to my vehicle, but there was no direct threat towards me, nor any overt action towards me. So I would like it to be a release with contact, and I have no intentions whatsoever of presenting or pressing any charges.
State have any questions for this witness?
Sir, did you call law enforcement regarding this incident?
I did.
Would you call law enforcement again if something were if an argument pursued between you and your wife?
Would I call law enforcement?
Yes.
Yes. Your Honor, we're direct towards you.
Just focus on his question.
Okay. I'll just hold.
Any other questions from the state?
No other questions, Your Honor.
Ms. Daly, do you have any questions?
Yes, briefly. Would you like contact with Miss Myers?
Yes.
Would you like her to be able to live with you?
That's what I was going to tell you. Sir, we're actually in the middle of a divorce right now. Mediation has already been completed. She's in the process of finding her own residence right now. So all those things are in the works right now. So I don't.
So is it fair to say you'd rather live separately?
We are going to be, yes. The
Okay.
divorce will be pending
Okay.
judges.
And you're not afraid of Miss Myers?
No, not at all.
Okay. Your Honor, given the alleged victim's
Ms.
testimony.
Daly, I'm going to ask you to just speak to your client for a moment and
Sure.
have her let you know whether she wants to have contact with him. I can't obviously enter a no contact order going the other way, but if she'd prefer that I enter a no contact order so that they just not have anything to do with one another, then my next question is going to be, does she need to go back to the house for any possessions while they're working this out? If she's comfortable with a no hostile contact, I can explain to both of these guys what that means. But if she would prefer the no contact and no return, I'm happy to enter that during the pendency of this case.
She would prefer to keep it no contact, and she also said she does have things, so we'd be asking for a one-time return with law enforcement.
Okay. So what I will do is I'll place her on pretrial release with an alternative bond of $100. There's going to be no contact with Mr. Jackson, and no contact means that you can't contact him directly or indirectly. And no direct contact means that you can't speak to him face-to-face over the telephone, via email, text message, social media any kind or any other way. No indirect contact means that you can't send messages to him using anybody else. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
This no contact order means, especially if you've got younger kids, that you're going to have to work the contact out through the court system, either through your family law action or with your defense attorney. If you try to organize contact with the kids through him, then you'd be violating the conditions of your release, and you could lose your bond. Do you understand?
Yes.
I'm going to allow you to return to the house that you share currently, one time only, to obtain any items of health, toiletries, or clothes. This wouldn't be a situation to take anything outside those categories. You would deal with that in your divorce. You'll not be allowed to possess any weapons or firearms. Do you understand the conditions of your release?
Yes.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Oh,
Thank
I
you,
have
sir.
a question. Do I need
Why
to?
don't you ask your lawyer? Yeah. She does. Yes, ma'am. I only have to give her a bond because she doesn't have a guaranteed place to go, but it's an $100 bond.
Yeah, bond.
Yeah. Sir, I have ordered that there be no contact between the two of you, so I would strongly suggest that you work using the court system to finalize your split up as quickly as you can, and thank you for coming in.
Yes, sir.
All right, Stone, please. Oh, I'm sorry. Sir, could I have your full name and date of birth?
I'm John Stone.
And what's your date of birth, sir?
Oh, 4/26/73.
Okay, Mr. Stone. I'm sorry. I usually have my trial clerk call the cases as opposed to doing it this way, so that's why I did that. You have a right to remain silent. I'm going to appoint the public defender's office to represent you, and that's Ms. Daly, who's standing to your left. You're charged with battery by strangulation, domestic violence. I find that there's probable cause for that charge. I'm going to set your bond on count 1 at $5,000. You are out on bond in 3 separate cases: 2019 CF 6195, 2019 CF 5181, and 2019 CF 65. All 3 of these are for a failure of a sexual offender to report, and I'm going to revoke your bond in each of those cases, and your bond will be no bond. It you, sir. Oh,
And there was
as it
also-
relates to the special conditions on the underlying offense, no contact directly or indirectly with Ms. Flores. Could you find out, Ms. Daly, if your client and her live together and he needs one time only to go back with law enforcement? Say again?
There was also a false imprisonment.
If you say so, the charging affidavit doesn't reflect it, but to the extent that it's there, I would set bond on the secondary felony charge at $150. Yeah, it's just not there.
I'll tell your attorney you're back in jail, okay?
Hmm? So that's not, that's Flores. So which was the victim? That was Narika Moore, not Miss Flores. And I signed a no contact order on that. Yeah, no return, no weapons, no firearms. Sir, could I please have your full name and date of birth?
Jamal Strong, December 5th, 1995.
Thanks, Mr. Strong. You have a right to remain silent. I'm going to appoint the public defender's office to represent you. That's Ms. Daly, who's standing to your left. You're charged in this case with battery by strangulation, domestic violence. I find that there's probable cause for that charge. Bond on count 1 is set at $5,000. No contact with Ms. Flores directly or indirectly, and no direct contact means that you can't speak to her face-to-face over the telephone, via email, text message, or social media of any kind or any other way. And no indirect contact means that you can't send messages to her using anybody else. Do you understand no contact?
Yes, sir.
All right. 1 second. No weapons and no firearms. Ma'am, could you please raise your right hand to be sworn? Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you'll give in this cause today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Are you Ms. Flores?
Yes, ma'am.
What's your full name, ma'am?
Lorena Marie Flores.
All right, and what's your relationship to Mr. Strong?
He's my boyfriend or fiance
How long y'all been dating?
for 3 years.
Do you have any kids together?
No, we don't.
What would you like to tell me, Ms. Flores?
This is the first time that anything like this has happened. I would just like that he get counseling and that we do have contact together. We live together. We have a lot established.
Whose house is it?
His.
Okay. And do you have someplace to go if I don't allow no contact?
No, sir.
Where were you living before you lived with him?
With my parents, I don't have too much of a relationship with them.
All right. And are your parents local?
Yes,
Yes?
sir.
Do you have any other family or friends that are local? Any questions from the state?
No, sir.
1 second. I just want to see if Mr. Collins has any questions for you, ma'am.
Ma'am, were you the one who called law enforcement?
I did.
If you guys got in an argument again, would you call law enforcement again?
No, sir. If it got physical, yes, I would. But if it did not get physical, then no.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Ms. Daly?
Yes. I just want to clarify what the state just asked you. You wouldn't call law enforcement if it was just an argument. Is that what you meant?
Yes, ma'am.
But if there was some sort of physical violence where he threatened you, would you call law enforcement?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you afraid of Mr. Strong?
No, I'm not.
Would you like to have contact with him?
Yes, I would.
Would you like to be able to live in the same residence?
Yes, I would.
Your Honor, given the alleged victim's testimony, I would be asking for no hostile contact and they'd be allowed to live in the same residence. Additionally, I'd like to point out that he does not have any criminal history according to the face sheet and he qualifies for straight pretrial release.
I'm not going to entertain pretrial release for probable cause allegations of battery, strangulation, domestic violence, although I appreciate why you would ask that. I'm comfortable with the bond amount of $5,000. I'm comfortable with the finding of no weapons and no firearms. Ma'am, if the allegations contained in this affidavit are true, then I have some concerns about your safety. If you want to take an opportunity to speak to somebody from Harbor House, you're welcome to do that, and they can point you in the right direction. For the time being, I'm not going to allow any contact. I am, however, going to allow you to remain in the house while you work something else out. You just got to recognize that it's not going to be a long period of time that you're going to have, and that his lawyer is going to ask for you to, in other words, I'm not trying to kick you out on the street for this, but I am going to order that you have no contact because of the allegations that I take seriously in this particular affidavit at this time. And then you should, like I said, just expect that depending on how this case goes, that you might need to find someplace else to stay for the short period of time. Sir, I'm going to allow you to return to your residence one time only, accompanied by law enforcement to get your clothes, items of health, and toiletries. If you have any contact with her, then it would be a violation of your release conditions and you could lose your bond and go back no bond. Do you understand, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you very much for coming in, ma'am. I really appreciate it. Face sheet for Mr. Are you Mr. Zapata? What's your name, sir?
Bryce.
All right. What happened to Mr. Zapata? That's who I have next.
Oh, I had him as a reset.
For Mr. Zapata?
Yes, but they have him right here.
All right. Terrific. Sir, could I please have your full name and date of birth?
Joshua Zapata, April 20th, 2001.
All right. Mr. Zapata, you have a right to remain silent, sir. I'm going to appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you, and that's Ms. Daly, who's standing to your left. You're charged in this case with 2 counts of aggravated assault with firearm domestic violence. Is this the one that you wanted to challenge PC, Ms. Daly?
Yes, Your Honor. The state has provided me with a supplemental, so I would be withdrawing my probable cause challenge as to the aggravated assault, but I believe there's another case with the possession of THC, possession of cannabis, and the possession of cannabis with intent to deliver. I still have a PC challenge on that one, though.
It was addressed yesterday. The judge only reset this one.
Okay, it sounds like the other one was addressed yesterday.
Oh,
and this
okay, I
was-
wasn't
and
sure
this
which one
the
was.
only reset.
Right. I would
Okay.
withdraw my probable cause challenge because I've been provided with the supplemental.
Yes, ma'am. I'll find that there is probable cause on both of those charges. Bond on both count 1 and count 2 are set at $5,000. You'll have no contact directly or indirectly with Giovanni Zapata and Giovanna Zapata. No direct contact means you can't speak to either of them face-to-face over the telephone, via email, text message, social media of any kind or any other way. And no indirect contact means that you can't send them messages through anybody else. Do you understand what that is, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right. You can't have any weapons or firearms. Do you need to go back to the house one time only to get your clothes?
No.
Okay, then I'll
I'm
order,
gonna,
then I'll order
Wait.
no, to your lawyer.
No, here. What do you want? Sorry, could you repeat who the alleged victim is?
Giovanni,
I could still contact Dagmari Zapata, right? That's my mom.
Giovanna, and Giovanni.
Are the only ones I cannot contact. Yes, sir.
Correct. Correct. And he doesn't need a one-time only, so I'm going to order no return.
Okay.
All right, thank you. All right, and what's your name, sir?
Braxton.
Brass. What happened to Mr. Balthazar?
That needs an interpreter.
Okay, so we're just going to pass him. So this is Mr. Braxton. Could I have your full name and date of birth, sir?
Willie Daniel Braxton, 5966.
All right, Mr. Braxton, you have the right to remain silent, sir. I'm going to appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you, and that's Ms. Daly, who's standing to your left. You're charged in this case with battery domestic violence. I find that there's probable cause for that charge. Bond on count 1 is set at $2,500. You'll have no contact directly or indirectly with Ms. Clark, who's the alleged victim in this case. No contact directly means that you can't speak to her face-to-face over the telephone, via email, social media of any kind, or any other way. And no indirect contact means that you can't send messages to or using anybody else. Do you understand no contact, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right, no weapons and no firearms, no possession or use of any illegal substances. Do you understand the conditions, sir? All right, thank you.
Here you go. Yes.
Ma'am, what's your name?
Denise Gates,
And what's your date of birth, ma'am?
March 1st, 1960.
Okay. Ms. Gates, you have the right to remain silent. I'm going to appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you, and that's Ms. Daly, who's standing to your left. You're charged with battery domestic violence, and I'm going to find that there's probable cause for that charge. State object to PTR in this case?
One moment, Your Honor, I apologize.
And it would have to be Bondor, Your Honor. She doesn't have an alternative address.
No objection to PTR with special conditions, Your Honor.
Okay. And are you asking for no contact or no hostile contact, given the allegations of the
No
affidavit?
contact.
All right. So, ma'am, I'm going to place you on pretrial release. And alternatively, I'm going to post a bond of $100. You're not going to have any contact with Mr. Ackerman directly or indirectly. And no direct contact means that you can't speak to him face-to-face over the telephone, via email, text message, social media of any kind or any other way. And no indirect contact means that you can't send messages to him using anybody else. That's your house, right? Yes? What I'm going to order is, how How do I structure this? Because if he's in the house, I don't necessarily,
Generally, what I ask for in these types of cases is instead of a do not return, I ask for maintain separate residences and no contact. And what I advise my clients is that you can't go back there if he's there, so you should have a third party check to see if he's still living there. And then if he's still living there, then you can't go back there with the maintain separate residence and the no contact. But if he's not there, then she's able to go back.
any
The
objection to that state?
State would have no objection to that.
Yeah, I'm gonna order that you guys maintain separate residences. To the extent that he is there, I'll allow you to return one time only to get any clothes, items of health, or toiletries that you need. In order to get back into that house, you're gonna have to address it with law enforcement, or you'll have to address it through the court system. It would be a bad idea and would violate the conditions of your release if you just went back there and had contact. Does that make sense, ma'am?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
What's your question? That's for you.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Morning, ma'am. Could I have your full name and date of birth, please?
Jessica Johnson, August 5th, 1990.
All right, thank you, ma'am. You have a right to remain silent. I'm going to appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you in this case, and that's Ms. Daly, who's standing to your left.
This is the one that I had the probable cause challenge on, based on the fact that she wasn't, I'm just gonna put it on the record. Based on the fact that she was not served, it said in the four corners of the affidavit that she was not served with the final injunction, and proof of service is one of the elements of an injunction, so I would challenge probable cause in this case.
Yeah, so I'm going to find that there's probable cause. The four corners of the affidavit reflect that she was served with the temporary injunction and then just declined to appear down in Broward County for the final. Statute says that if you have a failure to appear until that final injunction is served, the temporary injunction remains in place. So there is probable cause for it. State object to PTR in this case?
State would object, Your Honor, given that she's already been kind of told not to, by court order, not to have that, and then she's violated that.
Okay. Sir, raise your right hand to be sworn. You solemnly swear that the testimony you'll give in this cause today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, and are you Mr. Martin?
Yes, Your Honor.
What's your full name, sir?
Jean Martin.
What's the relationship between you and Miss Johnson?
It's my kid's mother.
Okay. And you brought your kids with you today?
Yes, Your Honor.
How old are they?
5 and 2.
Okay. What did you want to tell me, sir?
Your Honor, I think Jessica Johnson generally has a good heart. She's a good mother. I would not like to see her incarcerated, but at least you guys could give her maybe some anger management classes or some type of classes to help her with her anger. I willfully did allow her to come back in the place due to a situation when she was in Broward. She called me and told me that she was homeless with the kids. They were on the street. So I made a judgment call and asked her to come back to Orlando.
So even though you knew that the temporary injunction had been outstanding, did you appear? Did the final injunction go into place at all? Did you appear?
I did appear, but Jessica did not appear.
Was a final injunction put into place?
I believe so.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
And, but then you invited her back into the house even though you may or may not have had the final injunction?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Any questions from the state?
Nothing from the state, Your Honor.
Anything from the defense?
Nothing, Your Honor. I would just be asking for pretrial release given her minimal criminal history.
Okay. And then as it relates to contact, do you want to have a quick discussion with your client as to what her preference would be?
Yes, although if there is still an injunction in place, I don't want to confuse her by ordering no hostile contact.
I think that's smart. So, one of my concerns in this particular situation would be the kids. you know, if they're not gonna have any, contact. Ma'am, do you need a moment? Yeah, why don't we, hey, Mr. Martin, you brought somebody else with you?
Those are the kids, Your Honor.
Yeah, is that gentleman with you, or is that with somebody else?
No, that gentleman's not with me.
Okay, well, why don't you take a second and go comfort the kids? There was nobody else that could watch them this morning?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, step out for a second and pass the case. State, I'm gonna put her on BTR, so you can place your objection on that on the record. But we'll do that in just a moment. Sir, could you come on up to the podium, please? What's your name and date of birth?
Jamal Levine,
And when were you born, sir?
7/29/85.
Thanks, Mr. Levine. You're charged in this case with, first off, you have a right to remain silent, and I'm going to appoint the public defender's office to represent you, and that's Ms. Daly, who's standing to your left. You're charged in this case with battery domestic violence. I find that there is probable cause for that charge. Bond on count one is set at $3,000. You'll have no contact with Ms. Huff, who's also your co-defendant in this case, directly or indirectly. And no contact means that you can't speak to her face-to-face, over the telephone, via email, text message, social media of any kind, or any other way. And you can't send messages to her using anybody else. Do you understand no contact, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
No weapons and no firearms, sir. Thank you. Ma'am, what's your full name and date of birth?
Maria Jose Palencia Murillo.
Okay. Ms. Valencia, you have the right to remain silent. I'm going to appoint the public defender's office to represent you, and that's Ms. Daly, who's standing to your left. You're charged with battery domestic violence. I'll find that there's probable cause for that charge. Is there a objection to PTR from the state?
State that would have a record objection, Your Honor.
Okay. I'm going to overrule your objection, and I'll place her on pretrial release.
And
Do we
we,
need an alternative
we
bond
would
for
need
that?
bondor, Your Honor, yes. she
Alternative
needs
bond of
alternative.
$100. It'll be maintained separate residences. It'll be one time only to return for closed items of health and toiletries. With him not here, I don't feel comfortable putting in the no hostile contact.
So just for clarity, that's no contact, maintain separate residence, PTR, and then the other standard DV conditions?
Yeah, with the $100 alternative bond.
Okay.
Thank you. Sir, could I please have your full name and date of birth? One second. Ms. Come on up, sir.
Michael Blashinsky, 1664.
Thank you, sir. You have the right to remain silent. I'll appoint the public defender's office to represent you on this case, and that's Ms. Daly, who's standing to your left. You're charged with sale or delivery of fentanyl and possession of fentanyl. Probable cause has already been found in this particular case. I have a question about the amount state. The warrant set bond on both of these charges at $250,000. And I don't have any PC to back up those particular charges. Is there something about this case that would distinguish it from a garden variety possession and sale case?
One moment, Your Honor.
Do any of you guys have any PC for me on this?
I would say that, I mean, a sale and delivery generally,
Yeah, I know.
that's not the,
That wasn't my question, though. Do you have
Oh.
the PC? Do you have the actual affidavit?
oh yeah, I can pull it up.
Could I see it, please?
I only have it electronically, is that okay?
Yeah, that works great. might be a moot point as it relates to, he's out on bond in case number 2019 CF 13972 for aggravated assault with a weapon, felony battery, and robbery, sudden snatching. I'm going to revoke his bond in that case, and his bond will be no bond. I just have a...
Could I be heard on that issue? Because the warrant, I think the warrant says that this offense occurred before that out on bond case, so he didn't commit this offense while out on bond in violation of his pretrial release.
If you can confirm that for me, because
I'm gonna pull up the warrant.
if it was a warrant on the other case, that might theoretically not be true.
Yes, this was a warrant case. There's one moment I can pull it up.
This one was, I'm wondering whether the old one was. Could you pull up 2019 CF 13972?
So, 13972 occurred on June 10th, 2019.
Okay.
Was the offense date for that.
Okay. Then I'm comfortable with my ruling, Ms. Daly.
Okay.
Although I think it's a good argument if it was factually
It was a
supported.
warrant, Your Honor. so
Okay,
that's fine.
great.
I wasn't sure when the offense date was. I just
Yeah,
wanted to raise
with
the
that
issue.
particular ruling, I'm just gonna leave the bonds set as they are at $250,000 each on counts 1 and counts 2. And that will assuredly be addressed in front of the division judge as well as my revocation decision. Thank you, sir.
I don't have the affidavit. I don't have the warrant or the affidavit to issue warrant.
It got a lot easier once there was a revocation. Thank you, sir.
Here you go, sir.
Thank you.
Sir, can I have your full name and date of birth, please?
Willie Frank Blunt Jr., January the 14th, 1962.
Thanks, Mr. Blunt. You have a right to remain silent. I'm going to appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you, and that's Ms. Daly, who's standing to your left. You're charged in this case with a driving while license suspended as a habitual offender. I'll find that there's probable cause for that offense and set your bond at $2,500. You're out on bond in 3 cases. Case number 2019 CF 3964, driving while license revoked as a habitual offender. 2019 CF 6518, driving revoked as a habitual offender. 2019 CF 10158, driving while license suspended with 2 prior convictions.
And there was an additional case found to be open, Your Honor, before court.
Yes,
It was
ma'am.
2019 CF 000627AO.
Was the charge driving related?
It was a driving while license suspended as a habitual offender.
All right, I'm going to revoke his bond on all of those cases, and his bond will be no bond.
Excuse me,
Thank you,
Your
sir.
Honor.
Nah.
What's happening, these are old cases. If you look at the dates, they're old from the past. And I've been paying on them. When I paid the tickets, even Seminole County, my attorney, when I went to court on the same charge she's talking about, Seminole County Clerk of Courts messed up and sent the wrong conviction to Tallahassee, which made me a habitual.
Make that particular argument to your attorney, and we'll be happy to hear it downtown. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. I'm good for it.
All right.
One more time.
Sure. It's 2019 CF 000627AO.
All right. Sir, what's your full name and date of birth?
Cody Merrill, Brody Crafton, 101692.
Thank you, Mr. Brody Crofton. You are charged with burglary. Oh, first off, you have a right to remain silent. I'm going to appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you, and that's Ms. Daly, who's standing to your left. You're charged with burglary of a dwelling, grand theft, and criminal mischief. It was done via warrant, so probable cause has already been found. Bond on count 1 and 2 are set at $1,500, and bond on count 3 is set at $500. No return to the scene of the offense. Thank you, sir. All right, this woman does not look like David Brown. What happened to Mr. Brown?
This is Jessica Johnson.
What's that?
This is Jessica Johnson, the
okay.
woman we passed for a moment.
Okay, Ms. Johnson. All right, so would you talk to her for a moment about what she would like to do as it relates to contact? Well, we did talk about that because of the injunction.
Right.
So let's have, is there nobody else who might be able to keep an eye on those children so that they don't have to see this? Would you, yeah. Could we do something about that, please? And I'm just asking if any of the corrections officers or staff might be able to do something about making sure that I don't have that situation out in the waiting room. Is there anybody that could just step outside with the kids for a few minutes? Anybody else? Would you do that?
Yes.
Great. I'm going to have Judge Madrigal come out and step outside with the kids for just a moment. There's no way for him to get out?
They can't
Have a
open
seat.
that door.
Is there? Okay, terrific. If she could just step outside with them with my thanks, I would be grateful. Okay, so I am going to place you on pretrial release. Does the state still have an objection to that?
For the record, we object, Your Honor.
Okay, I will overrule your objection. Alternatively, I'm going to place a bond of $100. You're not going to have any contact with Mr. Martin, and no contact means no direct contact or no indirect contact. No direct contact means that you can't speak to him face to face over the telephone, via email, text message, social media of any kind or any other way. And no indirect contact means that you can't send him messages using anybody else. Do you understand, Mal?
Yes, yes, sir.
All right, so you might have an injunction floating out there against you, and I would talk to your lawyer about how to figure out what the terms of that are. I feel, and I think your lawyer made a really good observation, which is that if I allowed you to have contact with them and that injunction was floating out there, there was no reason that somebody couldn't turn around and say all of a sudden that you're violating the injunction and then you go to jail. So that's why I'm doing that. So I would get to the bottom of that situation as soon as possible. I'm sure that you have some questions as it relates to seeing your children. I'm going to suggest that you talk to Ms. Daly about that. It might need to be handled through the court system. Just remember that if you need to call law enforcement once you get out to address that particular issue, I know Mr. Martin's going to cooperate with law enforcement as it relates to seeing that those kids go where they need to go. And I'm not getting into your family law situation at all, guys. I just want you to be mindful that your interactions need to be handled through law enforcement officials and through the court system. Do you understand, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
Do you understand, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you for coming in. Thank
Your Honor,
ma'am.
would you allow third-party contact for purposes of childcare?
Absolutely.
Okay.
But again, that has to be
Yes.
sorted out in a way that doesn't get her to violate an injunction.
Right.
Okay. So why don't you talk to her at some point before you go home today? Of
course.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. And I want to say thanks to whoever looked after those kids, too. I appreciate that. Sir, what's your name and date of birth?
David Brown, 11/10/61.
All right, Mr. Brown. You have the right to remain silent. I see that you're, that I'm going to appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you. You're charged in this case with possession of cocaine and possession of cannabis in an amount greater, it's an amount less than 20 grams. I see that you're qualified to be, I find that there's probable cause for both of those offenses. Bond on count one is, does he qualify for PTR?
No, Your Honor.
Bond on count one is set at $1,000. Bond on count two is set at $100. Thank you, sir. Sir, could I please have your full name and date
Your
of
Honor, I
birth?
believe on Mr. Brown, yeah, he has a no valid driver's license.
So he does. Probable cause for that offense as well. Bond set at $500. Thank you, guys. Sir, could I have your full name and date of birth, please?
Mikhail Cannon,
Date of birth, sir?
082896.
All right, Mr. Cannon, you have the right to remain silent. I'm going to appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you. You're charged in this case with driving while license suspended as a third or subsequent offender. There's probable cause for that charge, and your bond is set at $2,500. You are out on bond for case number 2019 CF 9169, carrying a concealed firearm, and I'll take no action on that case. Thank you, sir.
It means he didn't revoke your bond.
Thank you. All right, sir, could I have your full name and date of birth, please?
Juan Castro, and my date of birth is October 26, 1992.
Does he have two cases or just three, guys? Or three? Okay, so you have two cases, sir. First off, you have the right to remain silent. I'm appointing the Public Defender's Office to represent you. And you're charged with, in your first case, fraudulent impersonation, transporting dangerous material, fraudulent impersonation, and possessing a counterfeit credit card. There's probable cause for each of those charges. Bond on count one is set at $1,000. Bond on count two, $2,500. Bond on count three, $500. Bond on count four, $1,000. You also have a probation violation in which probable cause has already been found and your bond is at no bond. Thank you, sir. Sir, could I please have your full name and date of birth?
1275.
All right, Mr. Coe, you have the right to remain silent. I'm appointing the Public Defender's Office to represent you. You're charged with possession of fentanyl and possession of drug paraphernalia. Does he qualify for PTR?
He did not, Your Honor.
I find probable cause for those charges, and your bond is set at count 1 is $1,000. On count 2, I'll lower it to $100. No possession or use of illegal substances, sir. Thank you. Sir, could I have your full name and date of birth, please?
Joseph Clarence Dietz, born 9/14/71.
All right, sir. You are charged with, well, first off, you have the right to remain silent. I'll appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you.
Okay.
You are charged with aggravated assault on a pregnant person. I'll find that there's probable cause for that charge. Your bond is increased to $10,000. You'll have no contact directly or indirectly with Ms. Halla, who is the alleged victim in this case. No direct contact means that you can't speak to her face-to-face, over the telephone, via email, text message, social media of any kind or any other way. No indirect contact means that you can't send messages to her using anybody else. Do you understand no contact, sir?
Yes.
No possession or use of any illegal substances, no alcohol, no weapons, and no firearms. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Sir, could I please have your full name and date of birth?
Francisco Diaz, 9/18/77.
All right, Mr. Diaz, you have the right to remain silent. I'm going to appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you. You're charged with possession of cocaine, and I'll find that there's probable cause for that charge. Does he qualify for PTR?
No, Your Honor.
Bond is set at $1,000. No possession or use of illegal substances. Thank you, sir.
Here you go, sir.
Sir, could I please have your full name and date of birth?
Nathaniel Falls, January 16, 1993.
Thank you, sir. You have the right to remain silent. I'm going to appoint the public defender to represent you. You're charged with a violation of community control. Probable cause has already been found, and your bond's already been set at no bond. Thank you, sir.
Okay. He says he has an attorney, so could you not appoint the public defender?
Yeah, you have a private attorney, sir?
Yes.
Okay, then I'll vacate my appointment of the public defender's office. Thank you.
Appreciate it, thank you.
No problem. Sir, could I please have your full name and date of birth?
JVR David Felton, 12/21/89.
Thank you, Mr. Felton. You are charged, you have the right to remain silent. I'm going to appoint the public defender's office to represent you. You're charged with fleeing or attempting to elude a law enforcement officer with sirens and lights activated and driving with your license suspended. Count 1, I'll find that there's probable cause for each of those charges. Your bond on count 1 is set at $3,500 and your bond on count 2 is set at $100. You are out on bond on 2 separate cases. Case number 2019 CF 456, fleeing or attempting to elude a law enforcement officer, and case number 2019 CF 6182, trafficking in 10 grams or more of phenylethylamines, possession of cocaine with intent to sell and deliver, possession of cannabis with intent to sell and deliver, possession of cannabis in an amount greater than 20 grams, trafficking 4 grams of another controlled substance, possession of tetrahydrocannabis, and possession of drug paraphernalia. I'm going to revoke your bond in both of those cases, and your bond will be no bond. Thank you, sir. Sir, could I please have your full name and date of birth?
John Howard Fisk, 9/6/83.
Thank you, Mr. Fisk. You have the right to remain silent, and I'm going to appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you. You're charged in this case with 2 counts, 1 count of aggravated assault with a firearm, 1 count of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, and 1 count of unlawful discharge of firearm. As it relates to, well, I'll find probable cause for each of those charges. I'll set bond on count 1 at $7,500, bond on count 2 at $2,500, and bond on count 3 at $100. No contact with any of the alleged victims in this case, no weapons and no firearms, no return to the scene of the offense. Thank you, sir.
There's another case, Your Honor. A
There's
possession
another
of
case.
firearm and ammo by a convicted felon.
I'll find that there's probable cause for that charge and set bond on count 1 at $4,000. No weapons, no firearms. Was Mr. Gonzalez a reschedule for hospital?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we'll pass that case to tomorrow. Sir, could I have your full name and date of birth?
Ashler Henry, April 9th, 1998.
Thank you, Mr. Henry. You have the right to remain silent. I'm going to appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you. You are charged with driving while license suspended. There is probable cause for that charge, and I'll set your bond at $500. You're also charged in a separate case with fleeing or attempting to elude a law enforcement officer with sirens and lights activated. And I'll set your bond at $5,000. Mr. Henry's a refusal. We'll set him for tomorrow.
He has one more case, Your Honor.
He does?
It's resisting without and possession of cannabis, less than 20 grams.
Probable cause for both of those charges. Bond on each count at $500. Thank you, sir. Sir, could I please have your full name and date of birth? What's your full name and date of birth, sir?
Kerry Ray Lane, 8463.
All right, Mr. Lane, you have the right to remain silent. I'm going to appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you. You're charged with retail theft, more than $300 for subsequent offense, and a use of an anti-shoplifting control device. I'll find that there's probable cause for both of those charges. Bond on count 1 set at $2,500. Bond on count 2 set at $1,000. No return to the scene, no contact with your co-defendant. Thank you.
Your Honor, I'd like to point out that Mr. Lane doesn't have any criminal history, and he will be asking for a reduced bond if the court would consider. No convictions, I'm sorry, I might clarify. I see out of state.
Yeah.
I didn't mean.
He does have out-of-state history and fugitive warrants, Your Honor.
Okay,
I'm sorry, I missed the bottom.
no problem. I'm going to deny that request.
Okay.
Sir, could I please have your full name and date of birth?
Jarrell Lewis, 12/31/78.
Thank you, sir. You have the right to remain silent. I'll appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you. You're here on a failure to appear. Probable cause has already been found, and your bond's already been set at no bond.
Thank you, sir. I'll let your attorney know. You can't log out. Where's the fellow show here? Would it be 0?
Yeah, that one's out of my hands, sir. Sir, could I please have your full name and date of birth?
Nazareth Lloyd,
When's your date of birth, sir?
3/12/2000.
All right, Mr. Lloyd, you are charged with burglary of an occupied structure unarmed. You have the right to remain silent. I'll appoint the PD's office to represent you. Did you want to be heard on this one, Ms. Daly?
Yes, Your Honor. This is the one that I said that there's no probable cause for a burglary. I would say there's only probable cause for a trespass, so I would be asking for a misdemeanor bond amount. It said that he was going to sleep in the gazebo. There's no other evidence within the four corners that he was going to commit some crime.
State.
One moment, Your Honor.
Your argument would be that he didn't have the intent to hide when he jumped the fence.
The intent to hide?
Yeah, they charged the offense as hiding from, so the burglary, the intent has to be formed when you enter the
Right.
dwelling or conveyance or whatever, the structure or whatever it's
And my
gonna be.
argument would be, the only evidence that we have is that his intent was to sleep in the gazebo.
Yeah, and
That's-
so that the intent to hide from law enforcement afterwards was formed after he entered the property.
Yes.
Okay, state response.
I would say his intent was at the beginning, Your Honor, when he jumped over the fence, he hunched down.
What other, so he was intending to hide from law enforcement that wasn't there when he jumped the fence?
He was intending to conceal himself before law enforcement arrived, based on the victim's statement above. She watched him. She observed a black male dressed in all black clothing, carrying a maroon backpack, trying to hide by hunching down while running towards the gazebo, the very top. So before even law enforcement arrived, the victim's in her house and she sees someone.
So your argument would be that when he jumped the fence, he had the intent to hide from law enforcement even though they weren't called and they weren't there?
Yes, correct, and he's hiding, concealing to try to
I
enter
find
the
that
dwelling.
there's probable cause for burglary of an occupied structure. I do find that there's probable cause for a trespass. I will set bond on this at $1,000 in order you not to return to that particular scene, sir. For trespass, do you know trespass, the statute off the top of your head?
I don't know the number off the top of my head, but this is the one in a structure or conveyance.
Yes, one of you guys, if you could just pull me the statute, I would be grateful at some point before the end of today. Mr. Lorgiet is a pass for mental health, correct?
Yes.
Lorgiet, okay, pass him until tomorrow. Sir, could I please have your full name and date of birth?
Jacob Michael Lucas, January 10th, 1980.
Thanks, Mr. Lucas. You have the right to remain silent, and I'll appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you. You're charged with possession of fentanyl. I'll find that there's probable cause for that charge. Does he qualify for PTR?
He did not, Your Honor.
Bonds at $1,000. No possession or use of illegal substances. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, could I please have your full name and date of birth?
Bernard Mahone, 4986.
All right, Mr. Mahone, you have the right to remain silent, sir, and I will appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you. You're charged with possession of cocaine, trespassing, and smuggling contraband or introducing it into a county facility. There's probable cause for each of those charges. Does he qualify for PTR?
No, Your Honor.
Count 1 is $2,500, count 2 is $100, count 3 is $150. Don't possess or consume any illegal substances. Thank you, sir. Sir, can I please have your full name and date of birth? Yeah, come on up to the podium. What's your name, sir?
Aaron Merritt,
And what's your date of birth?
August 18th, 1989.
What happened to Miss McCrimmon? Bond out?
Do you have a booking number for him, Your Honor?
Yes, ma'am. 190-29160.
They bonded.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Merritt, you have a right to remain silent, sir. I'm going to appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you. You're charged in this case with criminal mischief, burglary of an occupied dwelling, and stalking. I'm going to find that there's probable cause for those charges. Give me one moment, please. Yes.
This is that trespass. Got it.
Okay, I find that there's probable cause for those charges. Bond on count 1 is set at $250. Bond on count 2 is set at $5,000. Bond on count 3 is raised to $5,000. No return to the scene of this particular offense and no contact with the victim. Thank you, sir. You, Ms. Daly, you might want to take a look at that one and make a note to send to one of your colleagues to just check on competency.
Yes, I had the thoughts from reading the affidavit and my
Thank
interaction.
you. Sir, could I please have your full name and date of birth?
Elias Walker,
And what's your date of birth, Mr. Walker?
11/12/99.
All right, sir. You have the right to remain silent. I'm going to appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you. You're charged in this case with robbery with a firearm, conspiracy to commit armed robbery, and aggravated assault with a firearm. I find on count 1 that the proof is evident and the presumption is great. There's probable cause for all 3. Bond on count 2 is going to be set at $25,000, and bond on count 3 is going to be set at $5,000. No weapons, no firearms. Thank you, sir.
Your Honor, would you please repeat those bond amounts again? I'm sorry.
No bond, 10,000 and 5,000.
Okay. I had a proof evident presumption great argument if the court would entertain it.
Yes.
Your Honor, the allegation in the affidavit is that he stole the wallet and then at that point, the robbery was completed. And then at that point, he committed an aggravated assault and told him to get out of the car when he pointed the fire at him. So I would argue that the proof isn't evident and the presumption isn't great because they look like they are separate acts in the affidavit. That he didn't use the firearm to take the wallet. He just took the wallet, according to the affidavit.
There's a a line of case law that discusses a continuous sequence of conduct, and I would find that based on my initial review of the affidavit, this is one of those cases that falls into that. Your colleagues are certainly more than welcome to make an Arthur argument in front of the
Of course.
division judge.
Yeah, he changed his mind.
Sir, could I please have your full name and date of birth?
My name?
Yes, sir.
Donald Peoples. My birthday is March 1463.
All right. Give me 1 second, Mr. Peoples. What happened to Mr. Wesley? Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Peoples, you have the right to remain silent. I'll appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you. You're here on 2 counts of a failure to appear. Probable cause has already been found. Bond on count 1 set at $500. Bond on count 2 set at $100. Thank you, sir.
Oh, so you want to
Ma'am, could I please have your full name and date of birth?
Gloria Mar Rodriguez, September 22nd, 1993.
Thanks, Ms. Rodriguez. You have the right to remain silent. I'll appoint the PD's office to represent you. You're here on a failure to appear. Probable cause already been found, and your bond's already been set at no bond. Thank you, ma'am. Sir, could I please have your full name and date of birth?
Robert Daniel Boyd, sir, 0704-1985.
Thank you, Mr. Boyd.
Yes, sir.
You have the right to remain silent. I'm going to appoint the public defender to represent you. You're charged with driving while license suspended. There's probable cause for that charge. Bond is set at $500. You are out on bond in 3 cases: 2019 CF 13691, possession of cocaine; 2019 CF 13654, petty theft with 2 prior convictions; 2019 CF 9581, resisting officer with violence, battery on a law enforcement officer, resisting officer without violence, possession of drug paraphernalia, and possession of hashish. I'll take no action on those first 2 cases. I'll revoke your bond on the 3rd case, and your bond will be no bond. Thanks,
Excuse me, sir, what do you mean by that?
No bond.
Okay, is there, and I'm a sole provider for 4 minors.
Why don't you talk to your lawyer about that for a second?
Okay, yes, sir,
Sure. Ms. Daly?
Yes, Your Honor. He wanted me to let you know that he's the sole provider for 4 children and that he has a bed in La Amnesty. And then he was afraid of losing that bed if you were to revoke his bond.
Yeah, so he should just talk to one of your colleagues as soon as he's assigned, and La Amistad has a pretty good policy of holding those particular beds in these particular cases, and my experience with them is that their turnover is actually pretty good. Thank you,
Okay.
sir.
And could you clarify which case you did revoke the bond in and which one?
The
was
one
not?
that had the battery case is the 3rd one.
Okay.
Yeah,
581, thank you.
yeah.
Sir, is there any way, anyhow, I can have a bond, please, sir? I desperately need a bond.
Ma'am, could I please have your full name and date of birth?
Keisharia Singleton, 12/12/1996.
Thank you, Ms. Singleton. You have the right to remain silent, and then I'll appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you. You're
Yes,
charged
sir.
with no valid driver's license, and there's probable cause for that charge. Your bond's set at $500. You're out on bond in case number 2019 CF 6875, possession of a controlled substance and battery. I'll take no action on that case. Thank you, ma'am. The rest of these offenses that I'm seeing, or a lot of them, are pleable. So if you have an offer, interrupt me and make the offer, please. Could I please have your full name and date of birth?
Stacey Marie Emerson.
All right, so let me roll through a few that I don't have here. Ahmed, bonded. Passed to tomorrow. Derek. Passed to tomorrow. And then, ma'am, you were Stacy Emerson?
Yes.
All right, Ms. Emerson, you have the right to remain silent. I'll appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you. You are charged in this case with shoplifting and possession of drug paraphernalia. I'll find that there's probable cause for both of those charges. Bond on count 1, I'll set at $500. Bond on count 2, same bond. You're out on bond in case number 2019 MM 6660, petty theft with retail. Is that 3 counts? So it's a four-count complaint previously, or is it just one count?
3 counts of the petty theft and then a possession of drug paraphernalia.
May I be heard on that out-on bond case?
Yeah. Well, I was gonna just double her bond. I wasn't gonna revoke it.
Okay.
Go ahead and be heard if you'd like to.
I was just going to say that she was arrested on August 11th in that case and released on a 33-day motion on September 11th, and no information has been filed to date. So I was just going to ask that you take no action.
I'll take no action. Sir, could I please have your full name and date of birth? Sir, could I have your full name and date of birth,
Tell me
please?
your name.
My name is Ventura Jenkins,
Mr. Jenkins, when were you born, sir? What was your birthday?
5987.
Thank you. Give me 1 second. Ms. Jamison? Bonded? Hold off to tomorrow, Ms. Jamison. All right, Mr. Jenkins, you have the right to remain silent, sir. And I'm going to appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you. I'm inclined to ROR state. You have any objection to that?
No objection to that, Your Honor.
Yeah, I'm going to just ROR you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, have a good one. Mays? Thank you, ma'am. Sir, could I have your full name and date of birth? Hey, sir, up here.
Tell me your
Could I have your full name and date of birth, please?
John McDonald, 21474.
Thanks, Mr. McDonald. You have the right to remain silent. And I am going to appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you. You're charged on trespass on property after warning. I'll find that there's probable cause for that charge and raise your bond to $2,500. There'll be no return to Laura Lee's Cafe. Thank you, sir. Kenzie's Mental Health over to tomorrow. Miller bonded. Could I please have your full name and date of birth?
Lanicia Elise Payon, 12/3/1988.
I had
Payan.
Yeah, I have.
Ms. Payan, you have the right to remain silent. I'm going to appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you. You're charged in this case with possession of drug paraphernalia. Would you like to be heard on this, Ms. Daly?
Yes, sir, and I did have a probable cause challenge. It doesn't appear that the pipe that he recovered from Ms. Payon was didn't test positive for drugs. She didn't make any statements that she used it for drug use, and no drugs were found on here, so there's no probable cause that this is drug paraphernalia.
State response.
One moment, Your Honor. They respectfully ask the court for 24 hours reset.
Why?
I would like to reach out to the officer, Your Honor, and see if it was tested, and maybe it's missing from his affidavit.
You have an offer in the case?
I do not, Your Honor.
Your Honor, we would object to the 24-hour reset. It's in your discretion. However, I would argue that if you were presented with this warrant right now, you would not find probable cause, and you wouldn't sign the warrant anyway, and then give them more time to build their case.
Yeah, but the statute says it's discretionary 48.
Right.
I'm not inclined on this particular case, Mr. Collins, to give you the extra 24 hours. If you want to talk to the officer and just file, ultimately, if you want to file on this one, your office is more than welcome to do it.
Of course, Your Honor.
I'm going to release you, ma'am. And no possession or use of any drugs or illegal substances. Okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
All
Thank
right,
you.
Thank you. I find no probable cause. Yeah, RO. Sir, could I have your full name and date of birth?
Jeffrey Raymond Stone, 52964.
All right, Mr. Stone, you have the right to remain silent. You're charged, and I'm going to appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you. You're charged with disorderly conduct. There's probable cause for that charge, and your bond is set at $250. Does the state have an offer in this case?
I do not, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. And he also has, it would appear, possession of drug paraphernalia. There's probable cause for that charge. Bond's lowered to $100. Thank you. Ma'am, could I please have your full name and date of birth? Ma'am, could I have your full name and date of birth, please?
Kelsey Toussaint, 11/12/92.
All right, Ms. Toussaint, you have the right to remain silent. I'll appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you. You are charged with battery. I find that there is probable cause for that charge. Bond is set at $500, no contact, directly or indirectly, with the alleged victim in this case. Mr. Murphy is a mental health pass. Sir, could I please have your full name and date of birth? Step on up, sir. Could I have your full name and date of birth, please?
Stephen Donaldson, 3/16/88.
All right, Mr. Donaldson, you have the right to remain silent. I'm appointing the Public Defender's Office to represent you. You're here on a violation of probation for which a warrant's already been issued, so there's already probable cause. That judge already set the bond at no bond. Thank you, sir.
All right.
Sir, could I have your full name and date of birth, please?
Michael Macon, 102971.
Thank you, sir. You have the right to remain silent. I'll appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you. You have two cases. In your first case, you've got two charges of failing to appear. Probable cause already been found. Judge issued a no bond warrant in each of those cases, and your bond will be no bond. In your other case, it's a violation of drug probation. Probable cause already been found, and your bond will be no bond. Thank you, sir. Sir, can I please have your full name and date of birth?
Learning Melvin, 12892.
All right, Mr. Melvin, you have the right to remain silent. I'll appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you. You're charged with violating your probation. Probable cause has already been found, and your bond is no bond. Thank you, sir. Sir, if you could step up, please. What's your full name and date of birth?
Victor Manuel Vasquez III, January 12/96.
Thank you, Mr. Vasquez. You have the right to remain silent. I'll appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you. You're here on a violation of community control warrant. Probable cause already been found. Your bond's already set at no bond. Thank you, sir. Morning, sir. Could I please have your full name and date of birth?
Stephen Monsteoka, 11/6/92.
All right, Mr. Monsteoka, I'll advise you your right to remain silent. I'm going to appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you. You're charged with disorderly conduct. There's probable cause for that charge. Does the state have an offer in this case?
No, I do not, Your Honor.
All right, your bond is set at $250, sir. Thank you.
He won't give you an offer, so unfortunately we can't. I'm sorry. Normally we would.
That's all I have.
Oh, yeah. I use the language.
Okay.
Portuguese.
Language line.
Okay. So we are addressing that then?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Do you guys prefer that I return these?
Yes.
I've kept the two that are remaining. I'll hand those back to you separately. Could I have the interpreter identify themselves for the record, please?
Sorry, Judge, go ahead, the talk button. No.
Could I please have the Portuguese interpreter identify themselves for the record?
Ana, ID 249899.
Morning, ma'am. Have you been sworn in today?
No?
Do you solemnly swear that that you'll truly translate from English to Portuguese and Portuguese to English the testimony you'll hear today to the best of your ability?
Yes, I do.
Thank you, ma'am. Does he need the headset on to be able to hear her, or is this, no, this will be fine. Sir, could I have your full name and date of birth?
Senhor, pode-me dar o seu nome completo e data de nascimento?
Anderson Alves da Silva, 031284.
Anderson Alves da Silva, 031284.
Mr. De Silva, you have the right to remain silent, and I'm going to appoint the public defender to represent you today.
Senhor da Silva, o senhor tem o direito de permanecer em silêncio e eu vou-lhe dar defensor público hoje.
You are charged in this case with violation of a domestic injunction and assault domestic violence.
O senhor está a ser acusado de violação de uma injunção doméstica e por violência doméstica.
I find that there's probable cause for each of those charges.
Encontro causa provável para cada uma dessas acusações.
Your bond on count one is set at $10,000.
O seu montante na primeira é $10.000
Your bond on count two is set at $1,000.
e no ponto 2 a $1.000.
You'll have no contact directly or indirectly with Daniele Silva.
Não vai ter contato direto ou indireto com a Danielle Silva.
No direct contact means that you can't speak to her face-to-face, over the telephone, via email, text message, or social media of any kind.
Contato direto significa que não pode falar com ela em pessoa, por telefone, por e-mail, redes sociais ou qualquer outro tipo de contato.
No indirect contact means that you can't send messages to her using anybody else.
Contato indireto significa que não pode mandar mensagens para ela nem mais ninguém.
Do you understand no contact, sir?
Compreendo o que significa não haver contato?
Yes.
You'll have,
Yes.
you'll possess no weapons and no firearms.
O senhor não pode ter em sua posse armas de fogo, nem nenhum outro tipo de arma.
Thank you, sir.
And, Your Honor, he does need to be informed he has an ICE hold.
Sir, you have a immigration hold on you.
E o senhor também tem uma restrição de imigração.
Thank you, Anna. Appreciate your time.
My pleasure. Thank you for using our services. Good.
I did.
Okay. Haitian, Creole.
I did have a PC, John, that was fine.
Fancy Baltazar.
revocation for Creole.
Hey, this is Judge Traver. Who do I have on the line?
Laura, ID 260770.
Morning, sir. Have you been, or afternoon, I should say, have you been sworn in today?
No, and I'm ma'am, by the way.
Okay. Do you solemnly swear that you'll truly translate from English to Creole and Creole to English the testimony you'll hear today to the best of your ability?
Yes, Your Honor.
Sir, could I please have your full name and date of birth?
Allô, bonsoir.
Bonsoir.
Monsieur, moi, je vais interpréter pour un créole, il appelle la carrière. Alors, moi, je vais interpréter pour un créole, donc, by non ou, ensemble avec signature. À date de naissance.
Fancy Balthazar, mars 21 1989.
Oh, Bensi,
Fancy.
Balthazar.
He's just repeating.
Oh, c'est Vensi?
That's what he said.
Oh, I heard Bensi. I'm sorry. So Vensi?
I've got his name, and it was March 21st, 1989.
Yes.
Okay. Sir, in this case, well, first off, you have the right to remain silent. I'm going to appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you.
Donc, ou doit rester en, ou gen droit pour rester en silence et moi pour aller chercher défenseur public là pour capable représenter ou.
You're charged in this case with battery domestic violence.
Bon, ou dans dossier ça, c'est charge ou c'est batterie violence domestique.
Does the defense have a probable cause challenge?
Yes, Your Honor.
Does the defense have a probable cause challenge? I just need everything to be translated, please.
Bon, est-ce que défenseur a gagné une charge probable?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Your Honor, there's nothing in the four corners of the affidavit that Mr. Balsard intentionally touched anyone against their will. There's circumstantial evidence of injuries, but nothing that says that he was the one who caused those injuries. So I would argue there's no PC for a battery.
Can you repeat that again, ma'am, please?
I'm sorry. There's nothing in the four corners of the affidavit that indicate that Mr. Balsard intentionally touched someone against their will. I'll let you translate that.
Okay. Donc, pas rien dans quatre coins affidavit là qui indiquait que monsieur Balthazar il était volontairement touché en monde.
There is evidence within the affidavit of some injuries, but nothing that says Mr. Balsard caused those injuries by an intentional touching.
Bon, gagné preuve de quelques blessures, mais pas gagné aucune preuve que monsieur Balsard lui manye moun nan volontairement.
I find that there's probable cause.
Bon, moi joigne que gagne des causes probables.
A neighbor overheard a physical altercation.
Gen yon voisin qui te tende altercation physique.
Defendant, when questioned, suggested that the apartment was in disarray, as if a physical altercation took place.
Donc, gen yon question que te gen kek bruit dans l'appartement, côté que te gen des attaques ou bien des bagailles physiques, avec te gen des altercations physiques.
Alleged victim had visible injuries to her chest and her neck.
Bon, victime non, te genye blessure ni nan cou li, ni nan poitrine li.
She was found screaming and crying, wearing only a shirt.
Yo te joine li tap rele, et li tap kriye, li te seulement genye yon maillot sou li.
Bond on count 1 is set at $10,000.
Bon, et pour premier compte là, bon, genye, alors, moi mettel à $10,000.
He's ordered to have no contact, directly or indirectly, with Miss Nerling, who is the alleged victim in this case.
Bon, moi ordonne tout que monsieur ou pas doit gagner pièce contact ensemble avec Nerling, ni directement ni indirectement.
He may return to the house one time only, accompanied by law enforcement to get his clothes and items of health.
Bon, ou doit retourner dans Kaila une seule fois encore. Pendant que vous va accompagné par l'État ou bien la loi, renforcement de la loi, juste pour capable prendre effet.
He will possess no weapons and no firearms.
Bon, va doit gagner pièce arme à feu.
And it's my obligation to inform him that he has an immigration detainer.
Bon, moi, ou doit gagner tout, Your Honor, was that no immigration detainer or?
He has one.
I don't see one, Your Honor.
Oh, okay.
It's listed here on the face sheet as an immigration detainer.
Oh, that's for De Silva, Your Honor.
Then he does not have one. Let me pass that back to you guys. Okay, thank you, sir. And thank you, Mr. Interpreter.
No ICE hold. You don't have an immigration hold.
All right, that concludes our docket. Nice job, guys. Thank you. Mr. Collins, would you talk to one of your supervisors today about potentially putting together some plea offers on the ordinance violations and the M2s? You know, ultimately speaking, they're going to be in here, and it's going to be a credit for time served. It's going to...
I'll let William know. I apologize, Your Honor, I wasn't aware.
No, it's okay. And if you make an offer and they turn it down, they turn it down. But ultimately speaking, it's a lot of times based on their history, it can be a time served offer. And if they accept that sort of thing, I waive court costs.
Okay. Yeah, generally they're always asking for an offer.
Regular council, or would you like to start anything?
We can start earlier. We'll start earlier because, I mean, we were finished at, it should be less. Knock on wood. Sunday almost is always less.
Yeah.
I'll just head over, like, I'll get here at like 9:15, 9:30, and I'll just get through it as fast as I can.
Okay, because I think maybe if we come in a little earlier, maybe we can have more.
Yeah.
ready.
Yeah.
So I'll let my boss know.
If you decide to come in early,
I was going to ask
send a
you,
quick
Bradley
email to
packed
the
it.
managers.
I had this one in my packet. I don't think.
But what I'll do is I started juvenile as quickly as I can, which is 8 o'clock. I'll finish juvenile as quick as I can, And
Can I
then
pass you from
Oh, was
here?
this left
a
from
light
yesterday?
route, I just stopped there on the way to just grab
What?
something.
That may be
around
wrong,
here.
because I'm just
And
trying to go
so I
through.
was here by
I know
9:30
everything.
this morning.
Yeah, see, I usually
This is
get
my
there
first time
between
doing this.
8:39, and I'm usually done by between 10, 10:30. I just didn't want to be in a situation where I was still in the office and not.
Why don't you shoot to come a little bit earlier? Let's just see if we can knock it out. I'd like to be done by like
Meg.
12:30, 1 o'clock
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Can you look this up?
Usually Sunday's much
Sure.
less. Last
One
week I
nine
did 40.
zero two eight seven 83
190-287,
83.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it today.
the Brady Crafton.
Yes, we called him.
Yeah, he was just PD appointed, and
So we called it.
I don't remember what the bonds, I'd have to go
Give me
back.
a second and I'll look through my stuff and see if I can find it.
Brady Crafton, do you remember that? It's 28783. Brady Crafton,
It was 15-15-5.
15155, there we go.
And no addition to anything?
No return.
Thank you, lady.
I was gonna say, I'd have to go all the way back through my things. I don't know where, might take quite a while to find that.
Hey, Bacon.
How you doing, ma'am?
Good, how are you?
Hanging in there.
So what time do you think he wants us here tomorrow, to be up here?
I'm gonna just come in 30 minutes early because he said he'll be here at 9:15, so I'm
Okay.
gonna just do 30 minutes.
Okay,
Because he still gotta read through everything.
okay, that makes sense. I'll just get up here at like 10, hopefully that'll be. Have a good evening.
You too, bye ladies. Sorry, Meg, you gotta bear with me.
No, you're good. I'm gonna go bathroom real fast.
Okay.
Don't worry about it.
I got messed up here.
You're good, you're good. I think I'm only waiting on two.
Hmm? Oh,
I think
two.
I only got two.
Okay.
Can I ask you another question? With the ones that are recent, do you know if they turn out again, or do I have to like pull them through the packet?
That's their area.
Okay.
Yeah, ask her. I'm not sure how that
Okay.
works.
The ones that are reset, like mental health reset or whatever, continue on, do you know if they turn out again, or do I have to pull them from the packet? So I'll be back.
Yeah, because we just started, I would keep them. Just keep them on your desk in here.
I just, while I'm taking through and kind of sort through them, so I was just writing,
Oh,
throwing them in the file.
Yeah, I think they might reset them, and they do, but I think it's just the court minutes. I don't think they give you the whole affidavit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'll pull them
I
back.
believe.
I can, they don't lock, I can still get back up with my badge, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so, I was thinking that time down the second one.
You were able to come down and your badge worked?
Yeah, my badge worked.
Yeah, so you're
I
good.
came down last week, to make sure before I came.
Oh, okay.
I just say hold on to them because that's earned
they have an IA person that comes in at night.
Mm-hmm.
He or she will work on recess IA, because I've never been trained on IAs from
Okay.
I don't know if they print out anything or not, so I would just say.
Yeah, just keep them, because I know sometimes with us, sometimes we get them, sometimes we don't, so.
And then like if I miss 1 or 2 minutes, if I go on to work county clerk, then we will be updated, or is it wait for Monday to update?
They're not gonna be updated till Monday, but you guys get a copy. Once court is done, I drop the copies in your box.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorting through and making copies now, so as soon as I'm done, I put them in the box.
Okay, so I'll go there and reset on, then worst case I'll come up, grab the minutes, whatever.
And they'll be there.
And then I can go through them and make some notes.
Mhm.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
I'm missing one for Joshua Gonzalez.
What's the case number?
It's a felony for FTA. He had 3 cases. I have the 2 misdemeanors.
Okay, felony, FCA Gonzalez.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I have the case in my state account screen. It's for the 19 CF 008 AO.
Okay. Give me a minute and I'll look back through my stat.
Okay.
You said it was what's Gonzalez's first name?
Joshua.
And that was the reset case, right?
Yes.
Okay.
He's one that's in the hospital.
We only have one case. You have the MM, right? You said Joshua Gonzalez.
Mm-hmm.
And you said you have 2 cases for him?
I have 2 the misdemeanor, but he came in on a total of 3.
They didn't give us all 3.
Oh, Lord. It's fine. I just reset it anyway.
Okay, yeah, just put a note, they didn't give it to the clerk, because I don't have it. Make sure we get it tomorrow, because
We don't know that unless they put it on the list. That's the only way we know.
Okay.
No, you got one more. What's the name?
The last one is Vasquez.
Okay. Still on the record? I heard echo. Yep.